So, every time a couple comes together in the marital embrace, there should be the possibility that it might result in the conception of a new life, of a new person, which means that over time they could have a very large family. Nowadays, most couples do not want a large family, or they think, rightly or wrongly, that they cannot afford to have a large family, and so they think about ways to limit the size of their family and often resort to artificial birth control. Anything that purposely interferes with the act being open to life is gravely sinful because it thwarts the purpose God intended for the marital act. This, of course, includes any type of contraception that a couple might think they need to use to limit the number of children they might have or to space out their children. Forbidden are the various physical barriers to sperm meeting egg, all the different types of chemical contraception, surgical methods such as vasectomy in men and tubal ligation in women, and other methods. All of these are immoral and sinful because they involve the withholding of some part of each person from the other in the marital act, therefore thereby interfering with the unity of the couple by their not giving of themselves totally to each other as God intended. So it must be obvious to you that we're talking about the sanctity of marriage and the marital act here. And this is the point in my homily where I actually get to the topic that we wanted to get, Father and I wanted to get across to the whole parish, and that's natural family planning, or NFP. If a couple, and not necessarily only Catholic couples, if a couple feels the need to limit the number of children they have or to space them out in a way that works with their plan, or to choose the spacing of their children, as I just said, the only moral way to do that is by using NFP. Since there could actually be times when a couple could use NFP immorally to prevent conception, for instance, just to be able to enjoy the pleasures of the marital act without the risk of the wife becoming pregnant, there must be a morally good and compelling reason for the couple to feel a need to limit the number of children they will have. And that comes from prayerful discernment of their motives and perhaps counseling with their priest about the prospect of using NFP. I'm not going to go very far into the clinical aspects of NFP other than to briefly touch on the physiology of the human reproductive system, of which I think most people have some knowledge. A woman's reproductive cycle is a wondrous and complicated process that is dependent on the interaction of 4 different hormones secreted in the brain and in the ovaries that causes a cyclic variation in the production of and the release of eggs from the ovaries, and thereby renders the woman more or less fertile. Consequently, there are times when a woman is receptive to pregnancy and other times when she is not. In the man, sperm develop in his testes and are stored in structures around the testes, and it is a continuous process. So he is, wait for it, always ready. I had put in parentheses in my original homily, uproarious laughter. That wasn't very uproarious. Anyway, the man is always ready, okay? Needless to say, the infertile times are when the couple can engage in sex safely, that is, not have a high risk of conceiving. And the fertile times are when they should avoid sex, which obviously involves exercising self-restraint and is somewhat sacrificial in nature. From our diocese website section on natural family planning, we read this. NFP relies on specific methods in which a couple learns to observe the woman's naturally occurring signs of fertile and infertile phases during the menstrual cycle. Couples can use this knowledge knowledge as a tool in their family planning and to better understand their combined fertility. Using fertility awareness and NFP is ultimately to accept the divine gift of spousal unity in marriage. A couple that wishes to regulate pregnancies must take training courses on the method they decide to use, because there are several different methods, and then follow the techniques of the method precisely for it to be effective. And remember that this is a mutual decision, and mutual involvement in the method they decide on, not just work on the part of the woman only. The USCCB, the United States Catholic Conference of Catholic Bishops, has this statement about NFP. Natural family planning reflects the dignity of the human person within the context of marriage and family life and promotes openness to life and the gift of the child. By complementing the love-giving and life-giving nature of marriage, NFP can enrich the bond between husband and wife. In doing some reading and preparing for this homily here, I came across one question that was posed as to whether NFP interferes with the relationship between the husband and wife. The overwhelming response in studies regarding this inquiry is that no, couples using NFP for family planning did not result in degradation of the sanctity of the marriage bond. Rather, it enhanced the relationship between husband and wife in almost all cases studied. Natural family planning is really the only safe, moral, and the most practical way for married couples to plan their families while remaining faithful to God's mandate to follow His commandments in all aspects of our lives.